Good morning, everyone. I thought I would come in a little bit early because I have to make a quick run, but obviously I'll be back later on for the watch along as well. Morning session. Hopefully, you guys got a chance to look at some of these events. I thought we had some really good performances there. The without incident for me in the women's 100-meter hurdles. High jump qualification, quite interesting there, especially with the two defending champions, Barshim and Tamberi. We'll talk about that in a second. And also some, likes of Javon Harrison, who super talented but not making it through. We'll get to that. Men's 800 meters also happened. And yeah, so I'm just gonna here to give you some of my reviews. Hear from you. Tell me your thoughts on what happened this morning in the heats here of the morning session, and javelin qualification as well. A lot of good stuff happening this morning. So thank you for joining me. But it's only right that we talk about an event that we saw for the first time at this year's Olympics. I'll be totally honest with you. I didn't get a chance to really watch the race walk. I was trying to stay up late for it, but then I fell asleep. But we had the marathon race walk for the first time. So medals there. Spain winning it, Ecuador getting the silver medal, and Australia picking up bronze. So for the first time, if you've been following the sport, you would have recognized that the marathon mix race walk relay was designed to create some level of gender parity when it comes to the events at the Olympic Games in the track and field portion in particular. And yeah, so those are your winners there. I can't speak much to it because I didn't really get a chance to look at it in its entirety. But that's where things happened this morning. And so quickly, I want to touch on some stuff, and I get to the hurdles in a second because a lot of people are excited for that. That's to me the most that's the toughest race for me in the at the Olympics. It's very difficult to call that. But before we do that, I want to talk about a bit on the high jump qualification. Tough morning for high jump, if we're being honest with ourselves. I'll just pull up the summary real quickly and some of the takeaway points from the high jump this morning. Uh, I mean, there you have it. The likes of Shelby McEwen leading it out, Barshim also. So no one did. It wasn't necessary to go for the automatic standard, which is 2 meters 29. 227 was more than good enough. And so the likes of McEwen, Barshim, and I'll touch on him in a second. Wu, obviously, very good there. The Japanese athlete as well. Akamatsu there, he getting there with a season best. The Italian, South African guys there, and then obviously if you go down here a little bit, you'll see. Oh, that's not the. I want to see the summary. I apologize there. Let me go for the summary. You will see cues for a number of athletes, small cues, notably Gianmarco Tamberi there, coming out of the round in 6, could not get over 227. That was difficult for him. And thank you everybody for joining. That was difficult for him. Romain Beckford too from Jamaica also making it into the finals. We lost early. The likes of a Donald Thomas didn't make any kind of mark there. Perhaps again, maybe not surprisingly, given the season that Javon Harrison is having, we probably wouldn't have been surprised there. Didn't make it officially on the U.S. Championships, but because of making the qualifying standard, he got an opportunity to come to this year's Olympics. Only managing 2 meters 20. Not quite sure what's happening with Harrison there. Extremely talented over both long and high jump. Who knows what's going on there? We'll probably have to unpack that later when we hear some stuff. If you've heard some stuff, then clearly you can also go ahead and let me know in the comment section. However, as I said, this was not without incident or drama, and I'll talk about it really quickly because if you were watching, one of the things you'd have seen was the struggle of both Tamberi and Barshim. So most famously, Barshim and Gianmarco Tamberi last year at the last Olympics decided to share the gold medal. Obviously, they they had the same sequence and decided to do it, which turns out to be one of the great moments in Olympic history. Probably will go down as one of the greatest moments in Olympic history. I won't rank where that will go because then it gets off topic and that's difficult to see. But both of those guys, they're friends. And coming in here, Tamberi had a really good throw, jumps. I think he had a 237, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check it again. And but the last couple of weeks, uh, you know, he ended up in a situation where I think he had to be hospitalized. He was suffering from stuff, and it showed today. He struggled. Tambir really struggled to get over, and he almost didn't make it. To be honest with you, he almost did not make it this morning, and he ended up obviously going over 224. But because he had these early clearances, it put clean clearances. If you look at this, the sequence of his jumping, he ended up getting there. Yeah. How you doing? I'm here for it all. The 100-meter hurdles are coming on now on NBC. Yeah, I watched it this morning. Obviously, I think NBC probably is doing replays of everything as well. I'll get to that in a second. And yeah, also now the challenge now was for Barshim. We saw him try to clear 227, I believe, and something went wrong. He ended up in a situation where he had to hold a cough. You saw Tambiri, the medics, and other people out there helping him out. Initially, I thought he had ruptured something, but clearly he didn't. Then he went ahead and cleared 227. And then in typical Barshim fashion, he says, what he said, I think he said something to the camera about not doing it the hard way or so. Also, once he cleared that 227, he was visibly in pain. But the short story of it is that he is in the final, the same for Gianmarco Tamberi, and hopefully they can patch themselves up and we'll see them in the final. Shelby McEwen looking really good too as well. Kerr, I like Wu cleared relatively good as well. So there are some athletes here at this Olympics that we're looking forward to seeing the men's high jump. I'll get to the rest in a second. Agro, how are you doing? Is the World Championship going to be held every year after the Olympics? You mean like every year, like we're going to get one in 26 too and so on? I forgot the calendar. We ended up in a year after year World Championships because of the pandemic. The pandemic created a scenario where you were behind on that. But I forgot where it goes after Japan. To be honest with you, if we can search on that. I'm operating by myself, so I would ask someone to look for it for me. But I'm just doing the live today by myself. So, yeah, I actually don't remember where it goes after Japan though. Yeah, what we do, I don't think there's one in 2026, but I could be wrong. I don't want to say that on the record. What will happen though, I believe what will happen is there will be a culminating moment. So I don't think there's one in 2026, but correct me if I'm wrong. So World Athletics is shifting the way in which they're shifting the way in which they do the closeout of the season. So they're coming with this new end of season type thing in the years when they don't have a major championships, I believe. Yeah. Dina, how you doing? Morning. I think it will be in Doha. Oh yeah. What? World Championships is in Doha. Let me see. We can. I guess that's an easy check up. World Championships. Yeah, I think Doha is in the mix too, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Let's see. Let's see where they are. So where are we? Yeah, so right now it's gonna be in Japan next, and I think it goes to Beijing in 2027. So Japan will get it in Tokyo, gets it next year. We'll see it in the Olympic Stadium. Then it goes. There's none in 2026, and then it goes to China in 2027. I think it returns to China in 2027. So yeah, because it usually never happens back to back to back, but because of the pandemic, we end up in a series where we had the Olympic Games, and then it just went that way. Because the Olympic Games, as you remember, was pushed back by a year. It was supposed to be in 20. It goes to 2021. which was the year Eugene should have happened. So Eugene went to 2022, and then Budapest just went with the year it was originally scheduled to be there. Yeah. Yeah, there'll be LA Olympics in 28. We're looking for that. Hashtag Julius. And yeah, morning to you again. Morning to everybody. Yeah, just coming to do a quick recap of what we saw this morning. So I'll get into some good 800-meter running, but let's get into the meat of the matter. Although some of you might be watching for the first time the 100-meter hurdles, but let's do it anyway. That came up pretty early in the morning. As far as I can tell, but I was watching it early. I didn't see any major casualties, and I'll go through a couple of these things. We obviously had the world record holder came up right away, Tobi Amusan. She was there in the first heat. Alicia Johnson and Janique Brown also getting the automatic spots, and the Japanese athlete too getting the small queue. So as you know, it was the first three in each heat, and the next three fastest would have gotten through to the semifinals, and then everybody else get a chance again as long as they finish the race, and that is interesting. Dina saying this is one of the worst Olympics in history. Interesting. In what way? In terms of the organization, in terms of fortunes for your favorite athletes? What are you saying? What? How can you give me a little bit more on that? It's an interesting Olympic Games. I mean, we can tell. Once you tell me, I'll see. So Amusan looked good. She looked comfortable. As you know, she's a great tactician over the hurdles. Didn't look like she was breaking a sweat this morning. Good run also by Alicia Johnson there to keep with her. And Yannick Brown, I thought, did enough just to ensure that she was in the top three positions there. So, you don't have to come back. No casualties there for me. Heat number 2 was also exciting. If I'm being honest, probably the best run of the morning. It's hard to measure, but I would say probably Camacho-Quinn got the best run of the morning. If I'm being honest with you, don't forget to like the video, guys. Thank you. And I felt she looked really comfortable running there. Sydney Semba also in the mix. She too could do something. Not particularly to challenge the medals, but I think she's a good athlete there. Also the Polish athlete there, Pia, getting the automatic spot. The Bahamian athlete Cartwright, and it's good to see Bahamas with multiple athletes at the hurdles there. Obviously, they have Devynne Charlton, and we'll talk about her in a second. But yeah, that looked straightforward to me. Camacho-Quinn I liked. I mean, maybe in between Camacho-Quinn and potentially Tobi Amusan for the smoothest of the morning. I don't know. I would have put Danielle Williams there. I'll get to her in a second, but we'll see. And then we saw Masai Russell, one of the favorites too. A lot of women, their favorites. It was a tough heat. I thought high quality athletes there. Visser from the Netherlands, you can't counter her out. I think she is a special athlete too in terms of being consistent. So she'll force you to run fast. And the French athlete for me, SAMBA-MAYELA, lots of promise there. Those 3 athletes there are getting the automatic spot, and Taylor too from the Bahamas getting the small Q, and also ABDUL-RASHID from Canada. Masai looked good. I didn't really see anything to worry about. She had to ensure that she won the race, but because Visser was pushing her and SAMBA-MAYELA was coming as well. So yeah, good stuff. Let me get back to Dina real quick before we get to the rest of the results. Let me see what you're saying. So Dina is saying ceremony is the bit bias that goes on and on an organization. Okay, interesting. So you mean an opening ceremony? I never really put much stock in the opening ceremony of Olympic Games, to be honest with you. I think Beijing looks really good. I mean, the French did kind of interesting stuff. I think to do an opening ceremony that's not in a stadium, you would expect the French to come and pull something off like that. They did it to actually play on whatever stereotypes of Parisian life or whatever. I'm not big on that. I think the problem with the opening ceremony was probably the rain, but I think a lot of athletes liked it a lot. I think if you're a fan of it and you were there in Paris, then you probably would not have enjoyed it because you're getting soaked, and also it's at multiple points on the river. That part usually, I'm more concerned myself with the operations of the game. The organization part of it is problematic in some aspects. I think athlete comfort is not the best because they weren't hell bent on developing any great type of accommodations that some people might want. So the villages aren't up to what you wanted. I am I'm okay with some of that if you, especially since they said it in advance, but that now puts the onus on athletes who, uh, the athletes who, not the athletes, the country, it puts the onus on the organizer, on the countries that to help to figure out how to make the athletes comfortable. And then if you're in a much better position financially, then you have a better option. So like the United States has a lot of money. So I think they ended up in a situation where they can take care of the athletes. And some athletes, they don't stay in the village. So, and like USA basketball guys, I don't think they're there. Shelly wasn't in the village. I don't think is Shakara in the village. I don't think she's in the village either. So some athletes up for it because they have a better financial position. But that's one of those things. But this has been always the case in past. Sometimes you don't see all the athletes in the village. And French did a lot of stuff on the pop-up. I think if you're a fan there, navigating Paris is not so easy because it's not like they expanded the transportation infrastructure that much. So the trains are crampy, are packed to capacity. But then if you're in the heart of Paris and you're going to other events, then a lot of walking distance there. Yeah, one of those things. I don't know how to make sense of it. My biggest issue, though, is the fact that because they knew space was of a concern, you end up in situations where they're limiting access to athletes. So, like now, Jamaica's in that, everybody's in that. But when you do have a situation where you end up with relay problems or injuries, you don't have the athletes there. And so again, you have to have the money or the foresight to ensure that you can bring those athletes as a standby or to participate, but put them in another setup of accommodations. I think everybody knew this, and those who had the finances worked out it, and those who had administrative foresight figured it out too. I suspect the latter for Jamaica was a problem with the JOA and J3As on who has to pay for these things. I guess all of that stuff will come out again when the games are over and people do a deep dive again on why Jamaica or any other country didn't do what they anticipated. But outside of that, I don't really know. I don't like that part from the IOC and the French organizers, to be honest with you. But that's one of those things. The Shellygate thing is interesting. I still need some details on how that was communicated to Fraser Price. I haven't seen anything. I heard that the US Olympic stuff, they told their athletes, but I don't know. I mean, that's one of those things because Sha'Carri was not allowed into, right? If I remember correctly, but apparently they knew, but I don't know. I actually don't know, to be honest with you. Lots of things there in terms of how they do that stuff. And then for the rest of these things, I actually don't know anything about that. Rory. I have no idea about the rest of those things. I didn't even pay attention to that. Yeah. I was watching the opening ceremony. I watched most of it, but also I had to do some other stuff. So I didn't, and then once that left, I didn't take it on. All right. So back to the results of the 100-meter hurdles. Let me know your thoughts on what you thought this morning. And so I thought Russell looked good. Visser, SAMBA-MAYELA, nothing out of the ordinary there. And the rest got an opportunity to come back. Heat 4 featured Danielle Williams. She looked good to me. It looked like she clipped maybe one hurdle or two. I don't think she's particularly happy. She was kind of shaking her head slightly coming across. But it was hard to see. It wasn't a big clip, at least from the camera angles. And so she looked decent running across there. Easy qualification for Danielle Williams. Good to get the Olympic legs going. As we know, Danielle Williams is one of those athletes who been around for a very long time, 2-time world champion, but never made it to an Olympic Games for Jamaica. She's a sleeper. No, I don't think she's asleep. I think she's in the mix all the time to get atop of a medal podium, and she could do something there. Sarah Lavin from Ireland also getting automatic spot along with Ditaji Kambundji, who, as many people know, is the younger sister of Munjinga. She has a lot hoping on her. I think she's very talented. She's gone 12-4 this season. I like Kambundji a lot. I think she could do something there. And the rest just end up in a repechage round. And yeah, no, I think you're fine. You can, yeah, yeah. It's cool to say that, Dina. I think you're right on that. If you want, if that's how you think, I have no problem with it, because you're saying worst Olympics in history. No one can change my mind. Some of the swimmers got sick. Yeah, that is the part where it's problematic for the Sen. They spend a lot of money there to clean it up, but it's, when you have a really dirty river, and then when you get rain on top of that, rain is the real killer there. Yeah, so all of that stuff. And yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, hopefully it will end in a good way. Yeah, and you'll be back again to see some other stuff. All right, so that was heat number 4. I just got to keep an eye on the clock because I got to run soon. The final heat did I cover 4 for sure? Yeah, 4 was Daniel Williams. Final heat features another athlete that I think could win it all, certainly get on the medal podium, and that's Jamaica's Akira Nugent. Also featuring the world indoor record holder Devynne Charlton there, and Grace Stark. Those 3 ensure that they got the automatic spot. A little bit of Nugent and Stark next to each other. Interesting heat that they end up in. And Stark, also fantastic athlete, lots of promise as well. And those 3 comfortably through to the next round. So we have a situation where a lot of great athletes going through. I think there was a DQ for the Venezuelan athlete Mota, but I can't remember. That may have come late. I can't remember. I can't remember seeing that when I was watching it live. And so these are the athletes that are all through, and the 100-meter hurdles looking good. All the big girls, or women rather, are still there. Camacho-Quinn, Amusan, Russell, SAMBA-MAYELA, Williams, Johnson, Nugent. Yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah. Rory saying, I only just realized Kenny Harrison didn't even make the U.S. squad. Yeah, I mean, the U.S. Hurdles was fire this year, on both sides, the men, as you know, and the women. took sub 13 for men to get there. No, it was tough. It was tough not to see former world record holder Kenny Harrison. But that's one of those challenging things when you have an Olympics that you can only get 3 people. Yeah. And Dina says that the sermon is too dark and I had to tune out the disrespect to real athlete women is ridiculous. Yeah. And Rory says women's depth in women's 100-meter depth is just insane. It is. This is by far the toughest thing to call. There is no doubt that I can't comfortably predict who will win the hurdles, to be honest with you. It's just not something that I can do. I can put women in the mix and say, yeah, they can all win it. But I can see winners coming from Camacho-Quinn, Amusan, Russell, Williams, Nugent. I think Alicia Johnson could pull up trees too if she wanted to, or even Grace Stark. She has had a great year. SAMBA-MAYELA is like fantastic athlete too. So it's such a competitive event that it's almost disgraceful how competitive it is. And when you look at it, just look at the last 2 world championships. I believe the Jamaican athlete there, what's her name again, Megan Tapper, would have gone out of the not making the finals with 2 of the 2 fastest time in history never to make a final of 100-meter hurdles. I think that's if I'm correct on that. The space of women's sprint hurdling is just outrageous. You can, Tobi, you can't. I don't know what to say. I mean, like I think on any day anything can happen. people crash into the hurdles. That's the normal talk that we give. But it's just that these women are all capable of going here. I think you want to be in a 12-2 shape, and maybe that might be the difference there. You can never count out a Camacho-Quinn. I think she's steely. She's really top when it comes to fighting deep. I almost want to say you can't count her off the podium just the way she runs her races, but you don't know. Vincent, what's up? He's saying, without a doubt, Paris Whitman's sermons will be remembered as the worst in the Olympic history. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's hard. It might be up there for sure. You have to go back and check all of them and see. Toby Peter says Amusan should be able to win gold or silver. No, I mean, I think she's definitely somewhere there. She's a fighter. Obviously, we all know Tobi Amusan, world record holder there in Eugene. Last year, there was a whereabouts violation scandal. She got cleared at the last minute to compete in Budapest, and no one could come to the World Championships in any kind of frame of mind after that. It's probably like the week before or days before, if my memory serves me correct. But she's a top class athlete too. I just don't know. I mean, like when you say she should be able to win gold or silver, I say yes to that. But Camacho-Quinn can too, or Masai can too, or Williams can, or Nugent. It's stacked, Robert, how you doing? A GM Akira gold medal. Okay, is Akira Nugent got this 12-20. I like what I'm seeing from Akira Nugent as well. It's really interesting. I mean, this is a high quality field assembled at these year's Olympics. I mean, there's some women on the sidelines that didn't make it, obviously. You think of likes of a Brittany Anderson who struggled with injuries. She was Olympic silver medalist last time. Kenny, you would say Kenny is one of those athletes. I'm not quite sure. There's might be a few more that's not off the top of my head. But yeah, it is. It's outrageous that, in a good way, I guess, if you can say it. But I suppose we are at a stage where the women are revolutionizing the sprint hurdles. I fundamentally believe that we haven't seen the ceiling yet. I think a lot more women will come into the mix and probably get to, going close to thinking about a sub 220, who knows. But it's increasingly challenging that you may need to run 12-4 to get into a final if the conditions permit it. But that's the kind of challenge that we are having right now, Yeah. All right. Yeah. I guess Dina is agreeing with Vincent. All right. So that's the summary there of the women's sprint hurdles. Looking good. A lot of women will come back to get a chance as well. The Bahamians, they're getting 2 through, which is good. Cartwright has an opportunity to come back again and get through. All 3 Jamaicans are through. All 3 Americans are through as well. And the other athletes like SAMBA-MAYELA is there for sure. So yeah, should be good. Good to see. Yeah, even the Canadian athlete who I like. I don't know how fast she can go, but you never know. So that's where we are on the women's sprint hurdles. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully you're doing well. Let's quickly just do the summary of the men's 5,000 meters if we've recovered from that. From I don't have to. I don't want to go through it in details, but there's just 2 heats of that. I'll put it up in a second. It's just the top 8 that automatically went through to the final. Last night, as you know, was a great night for men's distance running. Jakob Ingebrigtsen leading the way. I saw Jakob write a message last night on social media where he basically said he got outsmarted, and I guess he took some humble pie because Jakob, really got run out of it. I still don't understand how he doesn't even feature on the podium, to be honest with you. But shout out to Cole Hawker, shout out to Josh Kerr, and obviously to Jared Nagoose. We talked about it last night on the watch along. But for Jakob not to make a 1,500 meter podium when he came into the Olympics with a sub 3:27 is unacceptable, and given his talent. And now it's clearly a race preparation thing in his head. It cannot be physical. It's not physical in the slightest, because it happens now 3 years in a row when he was supposed to win. He's the odds-on favorite and he doesn't. So he has to reevaluate a lot of things here. Still young, still bright future, still could be the one who eventually breaks the world record to Avika El Garouj. So who knows? But back to the 5,000 meters. Yeah, I think it was a good warm-up there. A bunch of guys coming through. And yeah, it's tough. I think one heat was much faster, but I don't think we lost anybody of real importance. Jakob is there. Grant Fisher making it back from a couple of nights ago to in 10,000 meter there. Uh, yeah. The big thing that happened in the 5,000 is that the the guy and Kiplimo didn't show up, which didn't come as a surprise this morning. We saw it before because the Ugandan guys had put out a statement saying they just didn't recover. But Nordis is there, Geberit is there, all of those guys are there. So we'll get a great 5,000 meter. I may have to reevaluate my predictions, obviously, because I think I checked a guy in the mix as well. But who knows? It should be good. I suspect Jakob would win this, because I think every time he loses a 1,500 meters, he comes back and win the 5,000. But that's where we are. And that, quickly, I'll do a couple more and then let's see what we can look at. The javelin was in progress too. Women's javelin throw. I didn't see all the throws, but I don't remember us losing anybody. I didn't look at it in much detail, to be honest with you. I did see a few of the throws, so if we lost anybody of importance, you should let me know. But I like the South African athlete looked good this morning. Van Dijk, I think, a lot of great athletes there. I think Kitaguchi, where is she? I can't remember how far she threw this morning, but she should have gotten through. Yeah, I think she did a one and done too. So a lot of one and dones for some of these athletes. So the javelin should be okay. I'm just scanning to see if we lost any important names, but I'm not seeing off the top of my head right now. Yeah, let's do the 800 meters and then we can, call it a day. I think that was a really, really good morning of 800 meter running. Can't complain about what I saw there. As you know, first three would automatically go through and everybody else get an opportunity to come back and run again, which is not what you want to do. In some events, you may say getting a second chance is good, but I suspect if you get a second chance, you're going to struggle regardless, but at least you get another opportunity. This whole repechage thing has been up and down for some people. I guess if you're Freddie Crittenden, you liked what you saw there, but for other athletes, they think it's just too much. I don't know. We got to see the world champion Marco Arop here comfortably going through to the Belgian athlete and also the guy from Australia. Arop, I don't know what to expect from Arop. I just feel like he should be able to make the podium, but the problem is we have three guys this season that's gone sub 142. That's going to make it difficult for him. We saw Arop on the Diamond League late, and he got run out of it in big fashion. But I can't count out the world champion yet. But he will definitely need to, given what we've seen from a Sedrati, a Tual, Emmanuel Wanyoni. I suspect unless there's a tactical stuff going on and those guys misread the race in the end, Arop might find it hard to get on this podium if he doesn't venture into the 141s or very low 142s. And that's a guy that looked really good last year at the World Championships and finally stepped up and was looking like he would be the man to beat, but he's not the man to beat. For second heat features one of the guys who've gone 141 this season, Gabriel Toul from France. Lovely guy. He ensured that he won. The crowd there was on top of him too. So him and Mark English from Ireland and Masalele from Botswana also getting the automatics qualification. No incident there in my estimation. Toul looked good. He didn't run hard. Didn't really come out of second gear. Nothing to talk about. And third heat features Wanyoni, one of the pre-race favorites for me too. I thought Wanyoni would be on course to win everything when we saw that 141 in altitude in Kenya. when you do the calculation, that may have been faster than David Rudisha's time in in London in 2012, which is still one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Probably, I don't know, up there for sure. And then to see Sedrati handle him a few times, handle him on Diamond League was amazing. So he went through. The Italian also made it through, and the Swiss athlete. So nothing there. I don't think everybody gets a chance to come back. Heat number 4 featured Sedrati. We know I think he's the favorite to win. He probably could have won at Worlds before, but had he not been disqualified. So who knows? Elliot Giles been around for a while, and Hobbs Kessler coming back there and making sure he got the automatic spot. Yeah. So good running there in the 800 meters. The big guys are there. They're coming through. Heat 5, interesting. Ben Patterson winning that. There's Duplessis too, and Kinimal from Kenya. Didn't have any big issues there. Jamaica had a representative in Navaski Anderson. I thought he was going to try to push for a top 3 finish, but I don't think he had that in the legs. And at one point, he was working hard, but I felt like he probably should have just backed off once he realized he was not in contention. Frenchman Benjamin Robert was trying to get through on automatic, didn't make it, so he has to come back again and run the repechage. And in the final heat featured Bryce Hoppel, who I think we shouldn't sleep on, but I don't know if Bryce Hoppel has what it takes to get to a 141. But given how these U.S. athletes have been running, you could probably won't put it past him. Mohamed Atatouille from Spain, winning that Hoppel, making sure he got in. And Great Britain, you got to give them much credit for middle distances over the last number of years. They've been seriously putting out athletes who are good enough, and Max Bergen, they're also getting the qualifying mark. Everybody else comes back, but the big people, the important guys are there, I think. People who could actually make a good run for the medals. Your Wanyonis, your Tuals, your Sedrati. I mean, even Bryce Hoppel, obviously, got to put him in the mix. Marco Arap is there. 800 meters should be golden. I would not be surprised if the conditions are right. I don't know if I want to go that far, but it's not going to be an easy race. Tactically, people are going to have to make some interesting things there to either go out early or to hang back and rely on a kick. I think if you rely on a kick, Sedrati might outkick a lot of people. So I am looking at Emmanuel Wanyoni to see if he can push the pace. I don't know if he will. You don't want to go too far and get run out of this whole situation. So it's gonna be interesting when it comes there. I don't know what you guys pick for the 800 meters and so on, but yeah, gonna be some interesting stuff there. Tonight is gonna be on fire too. Looking forward to that. We're gonna see the finals of the men's 400 meters. We can do a quick preview here. I still have to bounce, but let me put that up. Tonight we also have women's pole vault. That starts the evening. We're gonna get semifinals in the 110-meter hurdles. That's gonna be fire. Triple jump qualification for men. So we're going to see some big boys there. So a few guys have gone 18 meters this year. Want to see what Hibbert does too when he finally touches the stage again. Semifinals in the men's 400-meter hurdles, 200-meter semifinals. Also discus throw final there. A bunch of Jamaicans in that too. Don't know if they'll be able to make it in the mix. Women's semifinal in 400 meters. And the final for men's 400 meters, and it ends the night with a steeplechase final, which I think is going to be one of the biggest races you'll ever see. Can we actually count out Soufiane El Bakali? He is always there. Wale is there. Lametra Gurma, the world record holder, can he actually find a way to not lose at the biggest stage? I don't know. Don't take your eyes off of that for sure. Start list of the 400-meter final is ridiculous here. Ridiculous. Good to see Jerome Richards making it. But look at this lineup here. Karani James in lane 5. Mike Norman in 4. Hudson Smith. Samuel Congo there as well. And Quincy all out there in 8. It's going to be fire. At least I think at least 4 men could go sub 44 or even, yeah. Can James come around and hit another sub 44? First sub 44 for him in a few years. For him to be here still is just outstanding. Hudson Smith looks the easiest to me in terms of his shape. Quincy Hall, fighter, terrible form in terms of running, but he knows how to get on a podium. I don't know what to expect from Mike Norman. Mike Norman is one of those athletes who super talented, but maybe don't always show up the right way. I like the kid from Nigeria too, Ogazi, but this might be a little bit too early for him. Yeah, but I don't know if Samuel Congo can hit the heights again, but it's good for him to be running a sub 44 again, and this time in conditions that's not favorable. I'm going somewhere with Hudson Smith, Quincy Hall probably as well. And to be honest with you, I think I'm going to put Kirani James on the podium because I think he's a fighter. Robert is saying enough respect for the JA Field Events team copying 3 out of 4 medals. Oh yeah, for sure. Jamaica's been doing really well in the field events yesterday. Obviously, we again shout out Wayne Pinnock for getting on the podium of the men's long jump. That's what the first time at the Olympic Games since James Beckford. Yeah. You wish he could have hit another one. I think Keir McLeod could have probably medal if he didn't pick up some niggles earlier this year as well. Who else? Shout out to obviously Reginja Campbell. Big time there, getting on a shot put. Unfortunate that he couldn't have gotten out in the silver medal, having the same throw as Joe Kovacs. What is it, 22:15? And obviously, I am more than chuffed for Shanika Ricketts, one of the finest athletes you'll see, nicest woman you'll see, getting on that podium finally at the Olympic Games after getting those silver medals at World Championships. So, Caribbean athletes have been putting it down in this year's Olympics, obviously, also in events that you don't anticipate. Obviously, Tia LaFon flying the flag high for Dominica. What can you say here, right? Yeah. How you guys doing? Since some more comments coming in, almost is saying finals, Toby gold, Nugent silver, Russell bronze. Hey, it could happen. For sure, it could happen that way. Like I think any kind of iteration you put through with the big athletes, it could certainly happen. I don't know though. One of the funny things in all of sport when you think about the women's hurdles is never to count out Camacho-Quinn because, rock solid when it comes to mentality. I like Camacho-Quinn. I just be honest with you. I always feel weird not putting her on a medal podium. It's like, I don't know, but yeah, but I can see that happening. There's no question about that. Daniel Williams too. You can't count her out. I don't know what to say in the women's 100-meter hurdles. I think no one can confidently predict that. To be honest with you, maybe the semifinals might show us something. If you get in the semifinals and you see something outrageous, then it might be different. It's like when Tobi Amusan broke the world record in the semifinal in Eugene. When you saw that, you're like, okay, here's the gold medal here, as long as she doesn't mess up in the final. If something like that comes up, then we change the calculation. But as it stands right now, I can't pick confidently and like, yeah, here's the medals. I just can't do it. It's just the women are too good that on any given day, a bunch of them can just take it. That's what I'm thinking. Rory saying Karani running his fastest time in 9 years in a semi indicates he put too much into it. Interesting. There's another observation you could say is finally getting back to the right shape. He's getting into it. I don't know. I hope he didn't put all the effort into that semifinal and then have nothing there. Right? That's one thing though. But I don't know. Whatever happens to James, there's nothing we could be critical of him for, to be honest with you, because for him to still be here is just so ridiculous. He is a big time athlete. He's won the gold before. He's gotten on the medal podium on 2 other occasions. And he's been through a lot, and he's such a great servant for Grenada. Yeah, we'll see. Rory saying some of the others didn't go max effort. I agree with you. I think for sure, of all, when we reflect on the semifinals of the men's 400 meters, Hudson Smith probably did it the easiest, and I like what I saw from him there. I think he would have been upset at not winning the world championship last year when the Jamaican Antonio Watson, pipped him to the line. And that probably is something he's wearing around his neck the whole time. And hopefully he thinks he's going to do it. And shout out to him, shout out to Quincy Hall for both going sub 44 prior to the Olympics, because in full disclosure, I thought the Olympics for men's 400 meters was going to deliver nothing in terms of high quality running. And now we've had a bunch of other athletes join the sub 44 party, and who knows what else we'll get. If Mike Norman gets it right, he could go outrageous on everybody as well. So I like what I'm seeing there. And the event is shaping up to something more exciting than what I had anticipated coming into the games. Certainly still not going to be as good as the women's 400 meters, but that's another story. How you doing? We don't know who will make the finals, much less win it. 100 meters is too stacked. Yeah, I second that all day, every day, and twice on Sundays, right? Because it's just one of those situations where I don't know what to tell you, you know. Somebody might be running 12:4 and not making the final of the Olympic Games. It could happen. It could happen. So, you know, let's just see that. All right. What else? The medals will be tough there for the 400 meters, but it's going to be exciting. We're talking about semifinals too of the women's 400 meters, and this is probably the last one I got to do before I have to run, guys, because I got an appointment coming up. Look at that. You know, Alia Butler, Lika Claver, Nasa coming back in shape, Adalike. Who's coming out of that? You know, that's up there. We know Alia Butler can do well. She didn't do as well as you anticipated, but she can go fast. I like what I'm seeing from Nasa into the way she's rounding into shape coming into these championships. I don't know. I mean, your guess is good as mine. I'm going with Adalike for the automatic spot, probably Nasa, because she's looking good. Heat number 2 later on will feature Nikisha Price, the world leader. There's Paulino in it. Those two I'm going with automatically, but look at that. Alexis Holmes. Come on. You know, it's just, I don't know. We're going to get a cracker there. I suspect even from heat number 2, you may end up with, depending on how it goes, you may end up with the qualifiers coming out of the next 2 to advance. And then heat number 3 is no slouch either. Stacey and Williams there too. But obviously the bulk of the running I'm expecting to come from Kazmarek, Anning, Sade Williams. We're not counting her out. She could find a way right there. She could even win this semifinal. Kendon Ellis she had to go in the repechage round there. Ended up in lane 2. I don't know if she'll put it together well from that lane, but she's not one to sleep on. Yeah. We are going to see some fireworks there later on for sure. Fireworks later on. But anyway, we will all watch that later for sure, guys. I'll be back on the channel later on to do a watch along for the evening session. It's my pleasure. It's good to have you guys on. I appreciate all the people who come on the channel all the time, the people who subscribe, the people who like the video, the people who take time to listen, and also obviously the people who get themselves involved in the comment section. Everybody, I appreciate you. I will see you a little bit later. I got to run. Bye-bye.